Welcome to Korean Cinema Channel. Today I would like to send you the following news. Who has the most beautiful kiss? Zhao Haonan's Hae-in. Who has the most beautiful kiss? It sounds like a trivial question, the kind tossed around by gossip columns and comment sections hungry for instant thrills. But when the answer becomes Zhao Haonan's Hae-in, the question suddenly deepens, transforming from idle curiosity into an emotional provocation. Their kiss is not beautiful because it is flawless. It is beautiful because it is dangerous in how quietly it dismantles the viewer's defenses. There is no exaggerated passion, no carefully choreographed fireworks designed to shock the eye. Instead, there is restraint. A pause that lingers just a fraction too long. A breath held between two people who know exactly what this moment will cost them. What makes their kiss so arresting is not the contact of lips, but the story carried into that contact. Zhao Haonan's gaze often arrives first, heavy with hesitation, as if he is weighing the consequences of desire against the safety of distance. Hae-in responds not with surrender, but with resolve. Her stillness is louder than movement. When she leans in, it feels less like falling and more like choosing. That choice is what shocks the audience. In a landscape saturated with fast romance and disposable intimacy, their kiss refuses to rush. It unfolds slowly, almost cruelly, forcing viewers to sit with the tension. You feel the silence before it happens. You feel the uncertainty during it. And afterward, you are left with an ache rather than satisfaction. It is not a kiss that says we are in love, it is a kiss that asks, should we be? Is where the meaning lies. Their chemistry does not shout, it haunts. The kiss becomes a turning point rather than a reward, an emotional line crossed that cannot be erased. Zhao Haonan brings a controlled intensity, a sense that he has been holding back his entire life, and this single moment threatens to undo him. Hae-in meets that intensity with vulnerability sharpened into courage. Her expression often carries a trace of sadness, as if she already knows love will demand a price. That awareness elevates everything. Viewers are shocked not by how bold the kiss is, but by how honest it feels. It mirrors real life far more than fantasy ever could. Real kisses are rarely perfect. They are messy, uncertain, sometimes trembling. They are filled with unsaid fears and unsolved futures. Zhao Haonan's Hae-in capture that truth with unsettling precision. So when people ask, who has the most beautiful kiss, the answer resonates far beyond aesthetics. Their kiss is beautiful because it tells a story of restraint breaking, of courage outweighing fear, of two souls colliding at exactly the wrong, or right, moment. It is not just a kiss you watch, it is a kiss you feel. And by love, she is claimed. The short drama starring Zhao Haonan's Hae-in has exploded into public discussion, not because it plays safe, but because it dares to lean into intensity. From the controversial forceful kiss to the now viral poolside kiss, the drama thrives on emotional confrontation and narrative tension, turning every intimate moment into a battleground of desire, resistance, and unspoken longing. These scenes are not designed merely to please the eye, they are built to shake the viewer, to provoke debate, and to leave an aftertaste that lingers long after the screen goes dark. What makes their kiss scene so talked about is not skin-deep sensuality, but the dramatic weight behind them. Each kiss is loaded with unresolved conflict, power imbalance, emotional repression, and the collision between control and vulnerability. In the poolside scene especially, water becomes a metaphor, emotions overflow, rational defenses dissolve, and what remains is raw instinct. The characters are not kissing because it is romantic in the traditional sense, they are kissing because words have failed them. That desperation gives the moment its sharp edge. Zhao Haonan's performance leans into restraint and dominance, creating a character who seems composed on the surface yet constantly on the verge of emotional collapse. Hae-in, on the other hand, brings a fragile resistance that makes every interaction feel dangerous. When these two energies collide, the result is a kiss that feels less like affection and more like confrontation. It is precisely the sense of emotional violence, carefully controlled and dramatically justified, that many viewers find irresistible. For audiences who crave rising tension and narrative conflict, these kiss scenes are undeniably compelling. They function as turning points rather than decorative moments. Before the kiss, the characters are locked in psychological warfare. After it, the balance subtly shifts. Feelings that were once denied are dragged into the light, forcing both actors, and the audience, to face uncomfortable truths. This is why their CP interactions are repeatedly recommended. They promise not sweetness, but intensity. Of course, such scenes are not universally loved. Some viewers question the ethics of portraying forceful intimacy, while others argue that the drama risks sensationalism. Yet it is precisely this discomfort that fuels its popularity. In an era where many short dramas rely on predictable sweetness, by love, she is claimed chooses confrontation over comfort. It understands that shock, when rooted in character and story, can be a powerful storytelling tool. Ultimately, the success of Zhao Hendong's Hae-in's collaboration lies in their willingness to embrace emotional extremes. Their kiss scenes are not meant to be replayed simply because they are beautiful, but because they are charged with anger, desire, fear, and longing all tangled together. For viewers who enjoy stories with sharp emotional turns and dramatic clashes, these moments deliver a visceral impact that feels both unsettling and unforgettable. And perhaps that is the drama's boldest statement: love, when entangled with obsession and power, is never gentle, but it is impossible to look away from in Blazing Heat. Zhao Hendong steps into the role of a charming guest house owner, while the female lead is written as a sharp, alluring fishing-type lawyer, confident, proactive, and emotionally fearless. From the very beginning, the drama makes its stance clear: this is a story driven by love at first sight and mutual pursuit. There is no long understanding arc, no excessive emotional detours. Instead, the relationship ignites quickly, burns brightly, and pulls the audience into a whirlwind of attraction that feels both intoxicating and direct. What truly sets Blazing Heat apart is how its kiss scenes embody this emotional design. The sweetness is intense, unapologetic, and overflowing with heartbeat-skipping moments. Viewers have described their chemistry as having sexual tension turned all the way up, not because the scenes are explicit, but because the desire between the characters is unmistakable and openly acknowledged. Every kiss feels like a natural extension of their emotions rather than a narrative obligation. When they lean in, it is not hesitation that dominates the frame, but certainty. Under this setup, the kisses work precisely because both characters are emotionally aligned. There is no imbalance of power, no emotional guessing game. The male lead's warmth and steady confidence meet the female lead's bold charm and emotional clarity, creating a dynamic where attraction is instantly reciprocated. This kind of straight-ball romance, direct, honest, and emotionally expressive, gives the kiss scenes an infectious sense of joy. The audience is not watching two people struggle to understand their feelings, they are watching two people choose each other without reserve. The emotional impact of these moments lies in their speed and intensity. Feelings collide quickly, and sparks fly the moment their eyes meet. The kisses capture that collision perfectly, heated, sincere, and full of life. There is a youthful impulsiveness to them, a sense that love does not need elaborate reasoning when the heart has already made its decision. For viewers, this translates into a powerful emotional rush, the kind that makes you smile unconsciously while watching. For audiences who love strong emotional stimulation and fast-burning romance, Blazing Heat delivers exactly what it promises. The kiss scenes do not linger in ambiguity, they celebrate mutual desire and emotional courage. They tell a story where attraction is not something to be hidden or suppressed, but something to be embraced openly. That honesty is what makes the romance feel so alive. Ultimately, the appeal of Zhao Hendong's kiss scenes in Blazing Heat lies in their emotional clarity. They are not about tension born from conflict, but about passion born from recognition. Two people see each other, want each other, and move toward each other without fear. For viewers who crave bold love stories and intense emotional payoff, these moments are undeniably beautiful, and impossible to forget. Thank you for watching my channel. See you in the next videos. Thanks.